What's up, guys? Welcome back. You might have noticed I took a short break, gone for a few weeks. I spent that break finishing the LingoDeer Japanese level 1, so roughly it took me about a month. And I'm currently on the LingoDeer level 2, and about 20% done with that. I should also mention that I spent about a week on a complete burnout, so I just spent the whole time just wasting my time playing video games and doing nothing productive. But that's not important. As we're finishing the LingoDeer 1, and because I'm already, 20% done with 2, I kept noticing this button on the upper right corner, which is like the more. Because even though it says that it teaches you up to Japanese 3, which is technically the JLPT N3 equivalent, I was a little concerned that this may not be enough. And with the Japanese level 1 and 2, which is equivalent to JLPT N5 and N4, I was also thinking to myself, well, technically I'm N5 and I passed that test with no problem. But when I was taking the Japanese level 1 from LingoDeer Japanese 1, it taught me like 20% new vocabulary, which I didn't pick up from any of the books I was reading. Therefore, today let's talk about the LingoDeer Plus. If you guys are just joining me, if you're new to the channel, and if you're interested in learning languages, like on a budget, or generally self-learning new things which you wouldn't normally get from classical education, hit the sub button right now. I usually bring these things up, things that you won't normally get from traditional learning environments, and I use a lot of technology and a lot of modern techniques to self-learn, not only languages, but a lot of important, life skills would be one of the things, so hit that sub button. But okay. Let's get into the main meat of the discussion today, which is LingoDeer Plus. Should you buy it? Should you even try it? Is it worth your time? Let's talk about that. Okay, so when I got LingoDeer, I automatically got the lifetime subscription. Why? First, there was a 50% discount. Second, I hate the idea of having to pay for something monthly. Just doesn't vibe with me well. I don't like the whole, subscription-based type of service. So, imagine my surprise when LingoDeer Plus came out, and, well, it wasn't integrated to the original LingoDeer. Not saying the original LingoDeer has any problems with it, I still think it's a terrific app, and it can stand alone by itself. But, I do admit, one of the things it could work on is reinforcement of your lessons, basically practice. There is a practice there is a practice menu on LingoDeer, but it's very specific, and I don't think it's as effective as what they want it to be. If it was just for practice, I would actually recommend Duolingo more, even though, again, I don't really recommend Duolingo for Asian languages. You can check out my review for the LingoDeer review. I compare it a lot to Duolingo over there. But, not the point right now. No. Right now, the point I want to make is, if you already have LingoDeer, the original LingoDeer app, should you get the LingoDeer Plus app for practice? Let's get into that right now. Now, regarding LingoDeer Plus, again, I have already said it is a separate subscription service, but you can also get a lifetime subscription for it. It roughly costs about the same. To my knowledge, they were not offering a discount when I purchased it. So I even asked the original LingoDeer support team whether they'd ever offer a discount on this. I guess not, considering it's only been a year old. And it's not technically the same company. I think they partnered up with another company. So in the meantime, price-wise, it may not be worth your money. However, if you do have money to spare, it might be worth looking into or considering. So I'm going to talk about right now what this offers and how it could probably compare to other apps which you'll get in the market, whether free or paid. So first of all, I think it's very important that I mention the trial version of LingoDeer Plus. In the trial version, you will only have access to level 1. Now, there are 11 games in this app. 11. And they're split into 4, really. It's vocabulary, grammar, phrases, and integrated. What are those? I'll talk about that in a little bit. However, in the trial version, there is just level 1, which is supposed to be kind of you test whether you enjoy it or not. But I think they might have made a mistake by making only one level available on trial because, to be fair, the one level that's available is so basic and it's so boring that you don't really get a sense of having fun with the app. So, I would say that this is a mistake on their part. However, if you actually stick with it, and if you maybe get like a month, there's like a 50% for the first month, if you're willing to go and try it a little bit. But again, in my opinion, you should just get the lifetime subscription if you're ever going to get any of these language learning apps, because it's a waste of money in the long term if you plan to learn languages long term and you're paying monthly. But that's a different topic for a different conversation another time. Anyway, what are the four things, four categories that show up in this app? There's the vocabulary. Now, in vocabulary, there are three games. There's the, I have notes here, Drifting Letters, Word Express, and Memory Castle. They're roughly all the same thing. It's the same words over and over again. And essentially what it is an SRS. If you don't know what an SRS is, it's basically space repetition software. And you can get free SRS systems throughout anywhere in the Play Store, anywhere on Windows. I guess on iOS. I don't really have an iOS, so I can't say. But the most comprehensive one which you could get, which is free, is Anki. And yeah, there is an Anki for Android. You can get that, and it's pretty easy to do. You can download whatever SRS you need to do. Basically, it just reinforces. It's like flashcards. It's like fancy flashcards. That's what SRS is. And the vocabulary version of LingoDeer is basically just an SRS. So if you're getting it for vocabulary, I do not recommend getting LingoDeer Plus because it's lacking. I mean, there's a dancing, moving deer which tries to encourage you. But really, I mean, you're not going to be looking at that deer anyway. For like 99% of the time, you'll be using this app. You'll be looking at the words that you want to learn. And so the vocabulary portion of the LingoDeer Plus is kind of a waste of money if you're only doing it for that. Next, let's talk about grammar. Now again, in the grammar portion, it's split into three games. You have the grammar tunes, sea of verbs, and particle workshops. I kind of like this a little better than the vocabulary, which is a waste of time. So I'm like 50-50 here. Again, you could get the same type of lessons from a standard SRS. However, the advantage of having it here in the LingoDeer Plus is that it's already kind of prearranged for you. And for me, the most useful one is Sea of Verbs and Particle Workshop, because my particles suck in Japanese. Very bad at it, so I need a lot of practice there, and this helps me practice it continuously. And the Sea of Verbs, which is the forms of how to use the words. Because it's very easy to know a word, but it's very difficult, in my opinion, and, just me personally, to know the forms of these words, and the grammar really helps here. So it teaches you the past form, the future form, the volitional form, etc. And just for this, I would say that, okay, maybe you do want to consider LingoDeer Plus for the grammar portion. Again, there are still better apps out there, and you could still technically just get Anki and do it there by yourself by finding specific decks or making your own deck. However, as it's already all there and it just kind of pushes you through it slowly, you might want to consider getting the subscription just a little bit for the grammar. Let's talk about phrases now. And this is where it starts to get a little interesting. Because in phrases, you only have two games that you can play. There's the stream of phrases and the phrasal construction. It's a little boring, but it's a little bit more in-depth than the first two categories which I mentioned. In phrases, you actually get to practice sentence construction. Or, well, not really sentence, phrase construction as it is a phrase. And I would say now this is a little bit worth your time and your money. Because the stream of phrases tests you in various phrases which you could have gone over in either the original LingoDeer app or just, phrases that will come up if you are traditional study learning using books. Like if you're using Genki or Mina no Nihongo, then hearing the phrase and being able to see it, and when you press the button and you're like, okay, that's how the phrase works, and it recites it back to you in Japanese. and you're able to hear it.
ラジオでニュースを聞く
This ties into connecting these words that you see to the thought process of how you perceive the word and eventually use the word in a sentence. And I like that there is an active audio that continuously repeats over and over until the phrases are embedded into your psyche. Well, not your psyche, your brain. And so, yeah, the phrases are worth your time. I would actually compare the phrase section of LingoDeer Plus to Bunpro, which is a very popular Windows app for learning Japanese. And price-wise, I'm not sure about in your region, but in my region here in the Philippines, it actually boils down to about the same price. And being able to use the LingoDeer Plus, again, this is just like one category, phrases. You have 4 categories overall. Bunpro has a similar thing, but you can only use it on Windows, whereas the LingoDeer Plus is available on both mobile and PC devices. So I think that if you were already at the level where you understand enough of the language to start practicing phrases and using phrases, then yes, this might be worth your money. And finally, let's discuss the integrated games. Now, the integrated portion of the LingoDeer Plus may be the sole reason I would recommend this app. Everything else can be replaced, but the integrated portion is the best value for your money, simply because it offers 3 different games. You have the Match to Advance, the Dialogues, and the Speed Reply. Match to Advance is basically you read a sentence and then you have to choose the correct answer that fits into the sentence. Something you will actually see if you're taking the JLPT test, so it's a good simulation of that. Dialogues are kind of like the listening part of the JLPT test, which I admit is actually one of the hardest parts if you're not constantly exposed to native content, if you don't live in Japan or if you don't have Japanese friends. So this one's very useful. Finally, Speed Reply is basically question and answer, but it doesn't really show you. You gotta listen to what's happening and then choose the correct answer based on your listening. Which, okay, yes, you could do the same thing if you had the audio and a Mina de Hongo textbook or Genki textbook. However, that's a little low tech. This one's a much more high tech version of it, and it's much more convenient and integrated into the app already. So that overall covers the integrated games, which again would be the sole reason, if nothing else, within all the games in this app that would be available. This might be the only reason I would recommend LingoDeer Plus for you to get. Couple of stray thoughts before we end. First of all, the LingoDeer Plus doesn't seem complete yet because you have the option to get coins. It's not already an option. They give it to you when you pass levels and when you complete daily challenges. There's supposedly a store where you can buy things. I'm not sure what they're for. I think it's going to be similar to the Duolingo store where you can, I guess, dress up your deer or unlock special lessons or something. But at the moment, there's nothing in the store, and I'm just collecting coins, and I don't know why I'm collecting them. So I'm hoping in a future update they would actually explain the basis for having this coin collection system and why I'm even supposed to do basic practices or daily challenges other than for learning. So that's one thing. Don't know what these coins are for at the moment. Another thing is I would like to mention the best time to use LingoDeer Plus is, in my opinion, when you're tired of using the regular LingoDeer and you get brain fog just because you're overstudying so hard. The LingoDeer Plus functions basically like a superset. It's a workout thing. But, I'm sure you guys understand what I'm talking about. Like when you're already completely maxed out and you're almost there and you're about to fail, but you need to keep going because you feel you didn't study enough, then you can pull up LingoDeer Plus and you can do like 1 or 2 exercises just to reinforce your Japanese exposure for the day. And since it's only a minute or 2 long for each activity or each round of the game, then you don't get tired. And I find that if I do like several of them continuously, about 10 minutes pass, and that's enough time for my brain to have relaxed enough that I can go back to the regular LingoDeer and continue studying. So that's a way to continuously keep moving without switching over to unproductive things such as ordering fast food or, again, wasting time playing video games, which I am continuously do. And I try not to, but I always do. So, those are a few thoughts that I'd like to share before we end. And that's it, guys. If you like the video, hit the like button. Once again, there's also a subscribe button, because I notice a lot of you guys don't subscribe. Come on, just hit subscribe. You guys will be updated in my latest videos, and it really helps support my channel at the same time. Again, there's also a Patreon if you'd like to directly support the channel, and if you'd like to, be a patron and recommend new videos which you'd like to see. Links down below. So that's it. And next week I'm probably going to go over another language-related app, or a video game-related app which teaches languages. Still not sure what I'm going to be doing there. But once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next week.